If you have 1 million people who work for you for nothing for a year, you become wealthy. Well, then when you have millions of black people whom you can work for nothing for 310 years, you can easily see why America became the wealthiest and the most powerful country on earth faster than any country in history. But here you have 20 million black people today whose parents were worked for 310 years for nothing. What do they have coming for them? Not only did their parents work 310 years for nothing like an animal, but their parents also were the most faithful soldiers that the master had. What payment have they gotten?
What's up, besties and homies? It's your girl Aisha checking in, back with another video. If you're new to the channel, welcome to Strong Friends Check-In Podcast. There is so much talk in our community about reparations. Some argue for reparations, others argue against reparations for various reasons, and some argue for 40 acres and a mule. I think that my perspective is common sense. It is an informed perspective. And I think that we need to continue to have these conversations because our community as a collective is too impressionable. I think we're too impressionable. I think that we don't properly vet the individuals that step forward as leaders in our community. I think that we follow people because they have a strong presence. And I don't think that we are as informed as we should be, not because the information isn't available, but because we rely heavily on media and people with big platforms. Having a big platform does not qualify you to lead. I think we also overlook the fact that a lot of these people that we see stepping forward to become leaders have strong political ties to a particular party or to a particular politician. They endorse politicians, and politicians in turn do favors for them to help them climb the ladder of success. And so oftentimes these people have personal agendas that are harmful to the community as a collective. And so I want to offer my perspective, but before I do that, I'm going to play a clip from a video that I posted last year during Black Business Month. So I'll play that clip and then I'll come back and offer my perspective.
According to a U.S. Census survey, Black women entrepreneurs had the highest growth rate, 67%, of other groups from 2007 to 2015. We owned over 1.5 million businesses and achieved $42 billion in sales. Researchers coined us economic pace setters. Black men and women combined held approximately $1.2 trillion of spending power. In 2021, our spending power reached an all-time high of $1.6 trillion. Despite gains made in income, education, and accessibility to opportunities once denied, there is little growth in Black net worth. We are not building generational wealth. Nielsen reports that the Black hair care industry makes $2.51 billion yearly, of which Black women spend $1.41 billion on hair weave. We are also the biggest consumers of fast food. According to Wharton University of Pennsylvania, Blacks spend up to 30% more than non-melanated people with comparable income on visible goods like clothes, jewelry, and cars. We also save less.
All right. So I'll start by saying that descendants of enslaved people are owed restitution for past injustices, in my personal opinion. However, I have concerns about timing due to our lack of economic and financial intelligence as a collective. I also have concerns about the terms of any reparations bill proposed by a politician or any person with a vested interest in politics or corporations. Let's look at our economic condition first. Sources are Nielsen, Forbes, and Wharton U. So just like we saw in the clip, our spending power is through the roof. In 2021, it was $1.6 trillion. It reached an all-time high. Black women spent approximately $1.4 billion on hair weave. Blacks are the biggest consumers of fast food. We spend up to 30% more than non-melanated people with comparable income on visible goods, clothes, shoes, jewelry, cars. Now, what wasn't shown in the clip is that blacks overwhelmingly support non-black businesses over black businesses. That's an important fact to remember. Wells Fargo executive Mark Smith said that we have a consumer-based ideology of spending first and not saving. Now let's look at income. According to the census in 2021, 17.1% of black people living in the United States were below poverty line, compared to 8.6% of white people. According to Pew Research Center, in the same year, black households had the lowest median income out of all racial and ethnic groups in the United States at about $52,860. That's according to the census, U.S. Census. Rand Corporation reported that the median black household in America has around $24,000 in savings and investments compared to the median white household, which has around $189,000 in savings and investments. And the disparity has worsened in recent decades. Most blacks fit into a low economic class or are considered impoverished. We live beyond our means, we overspend, we have no savings. 2 reasons, in my opinion. Number 1, most don't know how the economy works. And number 2, our values are counterproductive to financial success. Priorities reflect values. Blacks earn less income than other groups, yet spend 30% more on visible goods. Why? Because in my opinion, we don't want financial security or financial wealth. We want to look rich. It's all about image with us. Our community is very pretentious. Now, California introduced the first U.S. slavery reparations bill. Factors used for calculation methods are racial disparities related to life expectancy, health harm, mass incarceration, housing disparities, housing discrimination such as redlining, and they're also requesting pain and suffering. I won't provide eligibility or pay information in this video. However, I posted a link to the pay models in the description box for your convenience. You can also go to California's government website to find the full proposal. I want to reiterate that I have concerns about the terms of any reparations bill proposed by a politician or any person with a vested interest in politics or corporations. I have not researched each member of the California Reparations Task Force, so I won't speak on that right now. However, I'm always concerned about the relationships that community leaders have with politicians. Reparations, in my humble opinion, would benefit the government far more than the descendants of African slaves because they would act as an economic stimulus. Based on our buying behaviors, we'd overspend and incur more debt trying to maintain the lifestyle, and the wealth gap would widen tremendously. According to Professor William Darity, an economist at Duke University, a lump sum payment could increase the relative income of non-black producers as Black Americans gain more spending power and consume non-black goods. Remember, we rarely support Black-owned businesses. So what this economist is saying is that if we receive a lump sum payment, then we would spend the majority of that money purchasing goods from non-Black businesses and be in a worse condition than we were when we started or before we ever received the payment. And then the non-Black producers would be in a far better economic condition. So he says this would lead to a decline in Black income, again, having an adverse effect. He stressed the importance of programs to educate Blacks and suggested a public trust fund for home ownership and higher education instead. I'd also like to point out that we have to consider Inflation. If you understand the economy, you know that Americans would incur huge increases in both taxes and inflation to repay the government's debt. Also, an increase in money supply increases demand as consumers buy more products, and an increase in demand drives prices up. So we know about supply and demand. You know, they want to buy more. This product is flying off the shelf, so we're going to jack the price up. That's just how the economy works. Now, I know some of you are thinking that the government has money for everything else. Why can't it afford reparations? Well, I suggest we start voting wisely and promote education over sports and hip hop so that our youth are empowered to lead more effectively. Now, with regards to 40 acres and a mule, we as a collective have no financial literacy. So we are financially illiterate as a community because most don't save or invest. We have no agricultural skills. We rely solely on grocery stores. We are industrialized and materialistic. If you remember during the pandemic, some blacks didn't even know they could grow food. Let's keep it real, because we rely so heavily on grocery stores. Also, when you talk about investing in land, if you're serious about that, because even if they give you the land, it's still an investment because you've got to maintain it. You've got to sustain it. You have to have a minimalist mindset. That means you must be resourceful to get the most value out of the land. So we need to check our priorities because we place little to no value on building or legacy. So I don't think we're ready. Now, when the time is right, I support a bill that would grant us lifetime ownership of the land and exempt us from paying taxes on the land and property placed on the land. But right now, we should not be fighting for reparations or land. Our so-called leaders should teach and promote economics and finance, especially to our boys and men. We first need to focus on repairing our families so that we can build family businesses and create generational wealth. That's the problem. The phony leaders won't encourage marriage and family because they're active members of hookup culture. Wolves are posing as pastors, hooking up with members of the congregation, and we sit passively and allow those degenerates to represent us while making a mockery of God. So our values are in the gutter. Now we know a house divided will not stand. All the money and land in the world won't fix the epidemics that plague our community because the family is divided. It starts with the family. I mean, this is common sense. You don't need a degree in finance or economics to understand that. So that's my take on reparations. We're just not ready. Our community must be reprogrammed to focus on social and economic success. Starts with the family. So that is my message. Know that you are worthy. Know that you are loved. Please like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, it's your girl, Aisha, signing off.